Hello, everyone. Welcome to Book Club Preview. I'm Michael, and today we're looking at The Maze Runner, Chapter 37. In this chapter, we are stuck with the terrible news that the walls aren't closing. And immediately, Albie starts to blame Teresa. And he says, "Take this girl, throw her in prison, or that little jail." Now, Teresa, she doesn't really resist. She's just like, all right, fine, whatever. But Thomas, sorry, Thomas on the other hand, he's shocked. What? How can you do this? What are you guys doing? We don't even know anything. And Albie looks at Thomas and he's like, man, I'm gonna throw you in jail with her. Luckily, Albie kind of steps in. Newt steps in. He puts his hand on Albie a little bit, pushes him back, and he says, look, we need to lock her up. And if you don't mind yourself, we'll lock you up too, because this has been way too weird since you guys have been here. So Thomas lets it go, and the two guards take her to the jail, but Newt does tell them, hey, make sure you stay with her because I don't want anything happening to her. When she's gone, everyone starts working. Everyone stops their jobs and they start building these barricades, which are like these walls or these defenses near the gates, just to protect themselves a little bit from the grievers. But as Thomas is helping them out, he's like, these aren't going to do anything. They're also taking all their food and all their weapons into the homestead. That's the house that they kind of I don't think they really sleep in it, but it's where the sick people stay and stuff like that. So that everyone's sleeping in the homestead, all their food is in the homestead, all their weapons are in the homestead, and they're planning to use that as like their castle or their fort to survive the night. Thomas is helping them build. He ends up getting a moment to slip away. He sees Newt and he goes up and he starts talking to Newt, and he's like, look, we need to let Teresa out. We can't blame her for this. Newt just looks at Thomas like, man, I'm going to punch you in the face. And Thomas is like, whoa. He thinks about stopping, but then he continues and says, look, I think she's part of the key. She's part of a tool to help us get out of here. And Newt's like, well, what are you talking about? It's been 2 years. We haven't found anything. And he's like, well, I think that's the point. Like, this is some kind of experiment. Like, we're not supposed to be in here forever. There's a time limit. And, the end is coming. But because the end has come, we have shown up, right? I think I have been a tool to help you guys get out. And I think Teresa is the last tool to help us get out. She's not the cause of it. She is just that last desperate tool to help push you guys to get out. And Newt's kind of like, oh, he remembers what Thomas had said before, to go out into the maze while the walls are moving. And, Newt's like, because now we're forced to do something different. Like they had gotten comfortable or safe just trying to get back to the maze before the gates closed or get back to the homestead area. But now they're desperate. Now they have to go out. Now they have to do different things, new things. And so Newt kind of agrees with Thomas a little bit. He kind of understands, says, yeah, maybe that's what's going to happen. And Newt says, look, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Let's at least survive tonight, and hopefully we can get her out tomorrow. But again, it's Albie's decision. Thomas does go to Minho, but Minho's like, man, get out of here. I got things to do. Thomas felt a little bit hurt about that, but he decides to go visit Teresa at the jail. At the jail, his love, right? He just feels so connected with Teresa so quickly. She looks out with her blue eyes and he's like, oh, I wish I could stay with you in that jail. I don't want you to have to be alone, inside his mind, right? And Teresa's kind of like, oh, I don't really want to stay here all by myself. I'm kind of lonely. But there's nothing Thomas can do. So she stays in there. There is this weird part where she says, yeah, the grievers probably aren't big enough to get into this jail. And Thomas is like, oh, do you have some of your memories back? And she says, oh, yeah, maybe some bits and pieces, or maybe I just heard the other guys talk about it. But, she just kind of shares this information about the Grievers, which haven't been talked about yet, and she hasn't seen anything yet. That's a little weird point, but maybe she does have her memories back a little bit, or, I don't know. But then Thomas tells her, like, hey, I talked to Newt. Hopefully we can get you out tomorrow. And she's like, oh, I hope I can. And then Thomas is like, I promise we're going to get you out tomorrow. She's like, all right, you better get out of here. And then Thomas goes back to try and survive the night with the rest of the Gladers, with the Grievers running around. There's a lot of vocabulary words in this chapter. The first one is solidified. Solidified is to make solid. So I can't remember if it was the air, but he felt like the air in his lungs became solid, like a rock. And he just kind of felt the weight or the heavy, like he couldn't breathe. And this comes to the second one, lodged in his throat. Lodged is like stuck. So he felt when they said, Teresa, lock her up. Right? Or maybe it was the walls didn't close. Right? His voice got stuck right there. His air got stuck because of the shock. It was lodged in his throat. Balked, when Thomas runs up to Newt and Newt looks at him like, man, you're the most annoying person in the world. I hate you. Thomas almost regrets or decides not to share his ideas with Newt. And this is balked, to turn back or to hesitate. Spur. Spur is a noun and a verb. So a spur, if you think about a cowboy riding a horse, on his boot, there's a sharp thing that he can kick into the horse to make the horse go faster. That thing on his boot is called a spur. That action of kicking the horse is called a spur. And Thomas, not Thomas and Teresa, but maybe the ending is a spur to get them to continue, to move faster, move another direction. Catalyst is like a cause. So this is a cause to make them react. If you think about it like a match, when you hit the match on a box, that friction is the catalyst that starts the fire. Schmuck. This is a really weird term. I think it's more of something like in the Jewish language, perhaps. I think I hear it most often connected with like Jewish culture and like the movies and things, where they'll call someone a schmuck. I'm not 100% sure if it's English or I guess Hebrew or Yiddish maybe is what they speak, or a language of kind of thing. But anyways, schmuck is just like a loser or a jerk or someone that's not very cool, something like that. I've never really used the word before, but I know it's kind of a negative way to call someone. Discussion question. Do you think they should lock up Teresa? She has mind powers. They don't know that. She comes and all this stuff happens. She admits to being part of the trigger, right? And, they lock her up because they think she's dangerous. But do you think that's fair? Like, is she that dangerous that they need to throw her in jail? Or is something better, could they have done something better or more useful? What do you guys think? Would you trust her? Would you lock her up? Would you let her be free? Would you make her the leader of the Glade? I don't know. But what would you have done? Of course, please make your own discussion question. So many different things you could ask about in this chapter and think about. So I'm really excited to hear what you guys thought about and want to ask. That's all the time that we have for today, but thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Book Club Preview. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Hey, if you have any questions about the video today, please feel free to leave a comment in the comment section. If you had any other vocabulary words that you wanted to know what they meant, let me know. And also, if you're interested in maybe joining one of these book clubs, please leave a comment and I'll get back to you. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.